think that the biggest misconceptions, and I think what Ryan was saying is absolutely true, that, this idea, patience, which I was never really a patient person. I've had to learn patience. The idea that it's just going to happen sooner rather than later is more often than not. It's going to take a while. So you do have to settle in for a long journey. Most of us do, and logic is the other thing. Like there is no logic to how this business operates. I was always of the feeling, and you mentioned this, that like talent would out. Like somehow if the better filmmaker wins, is what I thought. In other words, partly when I was in film school, trying to become the best filmmaker, was that I felt like my competition, the competition would go a little easier if I was a better filmmaker. It just makes sense. The better man wins. It's sort of like, not just in film, but they in all business they kind of teach you that. If you work harder, if you're better at the job, you will rise. All you have to do is look around at the kind of, and I'm not saying I'm the best filmmaker, but all you have to do is look around at the slew of hacks working on movies that have almost no business. A lot of them have no business making movies, making a ton of money and making movie after movie. You're like, well, wait a minute. Forget justice. There's no justice anyway in the world at all. There's no logic, So as the years go by, I sort of liken this town to Las Vegas. It is closer to Las Vegas than it is to, Broadway or theater. L.A. is like Las Vegas. It's a gambler's town. Everybody who's here trying to be in show business is a gambler. You have to have that. That has to be part of your personality anyway. Otherwise, you wouldn't just come to California and not do a 9-to-5 job. And some student said to me the other day, like, well, what about your retirement plan? And I was like, what? Like, I don't have a retire. I don't have a retire. Like, you have to be willing to gamble. And I don't gamble. Like, I don't gamble anyway. All I ever did was play slots. But here's the kind of correlation. If you stay at the machine, at the one machine, and you keep pulling, eventually it will hit. And so that's sort of the symbol or image I have about sticking. You just stay at the frickin' machine and you keep pulling, and the longer you stay at that thing, the longer you're willing to hang on, despite the fact that there's no logic to when it's going to happen or why. The longer you stay there, sooner or later, it will hit. And then talent will serve you. If you happen to be talented on top of that, then chances are you won't fuck up that opportunity you've been given, and someone will go, okay, well, he's got that going for him. I know he won't fuck it up, so maybe that puts you slightly more ahead of the unknown guy. But yeah, those are hard lessons to learn, because when you take that out of the equation, and all directors are control freaks. Otherwise, they wouldn't be directors. You're trying to control and make this thing. When you realize that the business you're working in doesn't follow any rules, it's a hard pill to swallow for somebody where you're trying to govern your life. John Boorman said recently. John Boorman did Excalibur and Deliverance and Hope and Glory and a ton of Point Blank, a ton of movies. Said, this business is about all the movies you didn't get to make. And I was like, Jesus Christ, that is a dark comment. But it shows you that, even for a successful filmmaker, there's a lot of things that you don't get to do. So you have to be willing to hang on for maybe the few times that you are going to get to make a movie. You got to say that's worth it to me. Or don't do it. Live another life and be happy. If you can be happy, I always say you can be happier than anything else, do it. Don't you suffer that much less.
Yeah, anytime anyone ever asks me what plan B is, I just throw up my arms. I go, I really, really wish I had a plan B. I really wish there was something else that I could do or really felt passionate about doing, and there's not, so I'm stuck.
Right.
What I'm wondering too, though, is, I know someone told me this quote one time. They said that usually the people that care the least usually end up getting certain things. I'm wondering, do you think being too hungry, and I have to look at this for myself as well, being too hungry hurts people sometimes? Because it seems like sometimes the people that can rest on their laurels a little bit and have more of a discretion, no, I don't want this, it's almost like this thing where they seem more valuable than they really are.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do think that tension and like like a real sort of like I gotta get this, I gotta make a move. If you let that part of your personality become the dominant force, you can appear crazy. You can appear desperate. You can maybe that'll work against you. But also, I think your creative process doesn't serve the creative process. I mean, to be creative in anything, to be good in anything, whether it's arts or sports, you have to like relax at the moment of creativity, at the moment of doing. If you think about it too much, if you're too cerebral about anything, you're gonna fuck it up. So I think you have to balance that with like be driven when you need to be driven, but when it comes to the actual work, try not to be like, oh my god, I can't mess this up. This got to be great. I mean, I went to film school with guys that ran around and they were like, oh my god, this movie's got to be perfect. Steven Spielberg's gonna see this and it's gonna mean, and I'm, it's like you get hysterical. That's not gonna help you. So drive and hysteria are two different things, and I think you have to.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, desperation doesn't.
They smell that.
It's not attractive to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I get reminded of it, if I call my agent about too many times about whether or not that he heard back from a particular TV show or got feedback from, even like if it's like, did you get feedback from that meeting? It's like he'll put me, I mean, we're friends, that he can, in a nice sarcastic way, remind me to just chill out. And that's not helping anybody. Like at that point it's out of my hands. Like I need to, and one of the things to do at that point is then just to immerse yourself in the next thing, and forget about like whatever happened. You sent that thing off, it's out of your hands. You had that meeting, it's out of your hands. Nobody. Yes, there is an element of perseverance, like you send a script to somebody and you follow up and you make sure they got it or whatever, and you kind of stay on the radar, and then there's the weekly check-in, which just means you're going to end up in the trash can. So I guess, yeah, I mean, as soon as it becomes desperation, it's no longer helpful to you. It's no longer helpful to your career. And when you find that happening, and I say this to myself, Ryan, remember this, just go into the next thing. And, like I said earlier, I mean, the next thing for me would be just write the next thing and know that whatever's out there is now, is up to luck and timing and who sees it and when they see it and how hungry they were when they read it, and if that's what their company was looking to do at that particular time. So yeah, I mean, desperation certainly a big turnoff. But it's I mean, ambition's great, and you just gotta walk that fine line, I suppose.